do we get stronger, safer, and smarter politics? Well, first, it starts with us voting for the right people. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in, yes, sunny and bright Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle. So if you want to learn how to lower your resting heart rate, lower your blood pressure while improving your pump at the gym, stick around. We'll talk about that later in today's episode, or just scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or simply head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS, and you'll know you're in the right spot when you see your shopping with Brian Nichols on the top of your homepage, which means you're going to get 15% off your order. One more time, Cardio Miracle, the best heart health supplement in the world. But let's go ahead and talk, yes, about building smarter, safer, and stronger communities. And it does, folks, start with you voting for the right folks. So how do you find the right folks? Well, first, we have to go ahead and interview them, understand who they are, what makes them tick, and more specifically, why they're running for office. Running for office over in Harris County, Texas. Joining us today is Marty Lancton. Marty, you're running for judge, I hear. Is that the case?
Harris County judge, it is. Hey, Brian, if you want to lower your heart rate, don't get into politics. So, I heard the supplement. So everything you want to do to make yourself better, politics in Harris County will make your heart rate go up and your blood pressure go up.
Yeah, that's a reoccurring theme. My family, we've been in politics for literally decades. My dad was a legislator for 15 years. He's still involved in the election commissioner business up in upstate New York. So this has been part of my life, right? And you're right, blood pressure, it definitely runs high in the Nichols family. But hey, Cardio Miracle, that's where it comes into play. But exactly, Marty, before we dig into the blood pressure raising stuff that's happening over in Harris County, I always love for the audience to get to know who my guests are, because I think your story sometimes helps articulate maybe the why behind why you're running for office. So do us a favor, introduce you. Who is Marty Lancton, and why are you running for county judge out there in Harris County, Texas?
Well, I'm born and raised here in Harris County, in Houston, being the third largest county in the nation, and Houston being the fourth largest city, about to be the third. This is my home, and I've seen what happens when failed leadership, failed politics. I see what happens when things don't get done. And so over the years, I knew at a young age that I wanted to be a servant leader, be somebody that believes in leaving a place better than you found it, but also building trust within the community, and always being what our motto in high school and the place that I went, which was straight Jesuit, is a men for others. I had that from a very young age. I'm one of five in my family. We have one sister. She's the oldest, and she definitely taught us to listen and to pay attention to strong women. And she also was very good at defending herself and taking on her brothers. And she is a remarkable person and taught me a lot. She's a tech executive, used to be with Dell and IBM, and up in the San Antonio area now. And my oldest brother, he was the basketball player of the group. Everybody always looked up to Robbie, and he was a great brother, and he was in the seminary at University of Dallas, and he now met his now wife and has a bunch of kids up in Wisconsin. He forgot he's from Texas, though. I tell him, I said, Robbie, you're from Texas. My 1 year older brother is an oil and gas attorney here in Houston, and he lives where I grew up in West University, and is an amazing father to beautiful girls. And my little brother is a priest. And so people just say, man, that's a big spread. But we're always taught that whatever we do, we're making sure that we take care of others. And I have an 11-year-old son. And what I tell him every day when he was growing up, even when he was a baby and when he couldn't quite understand me, I always told him every night before I tucked him in the bed, I said, I'd ask him a question. What do we always do? We always take care of others. So I am born and raised here, and I have been a 26-year veteran of the U.S. Fire Service. I have been president of the Houston Professional Firefighters Association, representing the third largest fire department in the nation for nearly a decade, and that's been the honor of my life. And I can tell you that taking on corrupt individuals and administrations that are misusing taxpayers is how I started getting into politics to begin with. I saw firefighters in Houston that were making $28,000 that qualified for housing assistance. That's not how you treat your first responders and those that put their lives on the line every day. And the question that I then had was, you know that there's a problem, and what are you willing to do to change it? And that started an 8-year journey to take on a corrupt Democrat mayor, and took him all the way to the Texas Supreme Court, won, took him to the Texas legislature, won. We organized and got 60,000 signatures in 7 days, set a state of Texas record. So what we like to call that in my world is you have to roll snake eyes on them. The only way that you're going to be able to do the right thing is to tell the truth and to expose the corruption. And after 8 years, we did. We got the firefighters long overdue settlement of $1.5 billion that they were owed, that they were not being paid. Who doesn't pay their firefighters? It had to take a Supreme Court ruling, the Texas legislature, the voters of Houston, to tell a mayor that's no longer here, by the way, that you needed to pay the firefighters. So, you know, getting involved in politics means that you can affect change positively for people. And I was asked to run by leaders both locally and statewide. And I told them, you know, let's do the same thing in the county. We have a great mayor in Houston now, Mayor John Whitmire, but we have a big problem in Harris County. The Harris County judge, which in effect here in Texas is akin to the mayor of the county, absolutely heading in the wrong direction. And we have to fix this. And you have somebody that's more focused on social programs than they are on transparency and taxpayer dollars, and focusing on the number one issue that voters care about, which is crime and public safety.
Well, you hit on what voters care about. That's part of the tagline of our show, right? Meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. And I used to teach this when I would go out and do campaign trainings, is instead of in the business space, we call it your ICP, your ideal customer persona. I talked about your IVP, your ideal voter persona, right? And then with that being in mind, create that ideal image of who does that person look like? Name them, tell me what they care about, what keeps them up at night, like what are their bed bug issues, what are the things that they are really, really passionate about, and then understand, does my solution fit what they're looking for in life, right? So the way that you're talking about actually going back and meeting the voters where they are, specifically in the areas that they're really outlining, I'm glad you hit on it. Crime, and I think you said immigration. Is that the other area as well?
Crime, well, the issues of immigration is a huge issue, but the issues affecting Harris County, as far as the role of Harris County judge, is you have crime and public safety being the number one priority. You have flood infrastructure mitigation, disaster management, disaster response, which is absolutely deplorable under this administration, and it will change under mine. We have so many natural disasters that hit, being on the coast here in Texas, that we have to be prepared for the next storm. And we can't continue to do the same thing that we've always done, which is just wait for the next storm to come, then figure out what we're going to do. And everybody then doesn't know where they're going. That's not how you plan for disaster. And at 26 years of leading through disasters, I can tell you it's one of the most critical roles of the Harris County judge is to lead during a disaster, but also resources to the community are the most important. And right now, what you have in Harris County is you have a Democrat Harris County judge that focuses on social programs and things that do not have the role of county judge, and gets into a fight with your state leaders and federal leaders, not having to do with the role of county judge, but having to almost seem like you're pandering to one side instead of focusing on what your job is, and that is to get the resources to the community that needs it the most. You have taxes that are all-time high that continue to go up. And as somebody that took on a corrupt city administration where they said, we don't have any money, we have to raise your taxes in order to pay firefighters, I told them that's absolutely not going to happen, and that's not the truth. When you have people that are using their term in office to enrich their friends and their families, that's the kind of stuff that people are tired of. And that's the kind of stuff that we need to move away from and earn the trust of the people and the voters that we represent. So really, it comes down to one critical piece as the Harris County judge, who has the ability to work with those that can provide the resources to Harris County, who has the relationships, and who has the ability in order to be effective. Because if you're not effective, we're just having a talk and it's just noise. And that's why I'm so proud that Governor Greg Abbott has endorsed my campaign, and the Texas Land Commissioner that takes in all the federal dollars for disaster relief and disaster recovery. She has endorsed my campaign. And it's such a critical role to understand not only how that operates, but how it affects the people here in Harris County on the ground. So relationships matter. Yeah. And working with the largest city in the county, in the city of Houston, the last time we saw the county judge and the mayor of the city of Houston on national television during a disaster, the current county judge was arguing with him and acting like a petulant child. That is absolutely not what people need to see during a disaster. They need adults in the room, and they need people to tell you what you need to hear, and they need to have belief in it. And that trust is earned.
You're trying to stay sharp, whether it's for work, learning, or just not forgetting where you left your keys. Been there. But lately, the mental fog hits hard. And brain fog isn't just stress. It's often tied to poor blood flow and low nitric oxide levels because your brain needs oxygen just as much as your other muscles do. Because without it, you're slower to process, less focused, and more fatigued. And that's one of the many reasons why I trust Cardio Miracle. Not only does it boost nitric oxide for heart and circulation, it supports cognitive clarity, focus, and even mood regulation thanks to its unique blend of L-arginine, CoQ10, vitamin D3, and antioxidant-rich superfoods. So if you're tired of feeling mentally cloudy, give your brain what it's craving. Click the link in the show notes, scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS, which will give you 15% off your order. Just look for the little note on the website saying you're shopping with Brian Nichols. One more time, that's cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. And now, let's get back to the show. There's been a big resurgence. This is the Scott Jennings approach to politics, right?
I love Scott Jennings. Heard him talk. I know. Just came and spoke at a Auto Dealers Association luncheon about 2 weeks ago, and he is absolutely spot on. Didn't mean to interrupt.
He's fantastic. Well, and his 80-20 perspective on politics, right? Where you need to, and he was talking about the effectiveness of the Trump administration, specifically in the first 6 months of the administration, where it was hit after hit after hit, right? I mean, it was like, peak Taylor Swift. It was just number one after number one, right? That was Trump's first 6 months. And he was talking about, the reason that it was really resonating with so many voters was because a lot of the issues were around those 80-20 issues.
Yes.
And we've seen, I don't know what it is in the world of politics over the past 20 years, especially the 5% on each side of the political spectrum. Yes. They became the loudest voices, and they kind of embodied the whole, the loudest, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, right? And that's something I think, more and more folks started to get just kind of tired with. Your average person started to look around more and say, yeah, things are getting more expensive. Crime is increasing. Immigration is increasing. I'm not able to really identify with my neighborhood anymore. I'm watching manufacturing leave my community, going overseas. I'm watching as my communities themselves are collapsing. I'm watching my roads fall apart. I'm watching, as natural disasters happen, things not getting fixed. And that's something that to your average person, there kind of comes a breaking point. And going back to the Scott Jennings 80-20 issues, when all of a sudden there is a momentum around a certain issue and it's in that 80-20 spirit, right? And it's impacting those average voters and they're mobilized. My goodness, hold on, right, to your seat, because we saw this in 2024. It was a mobilized group of a lot of different factions that helped propel Trump and the Republican Party into the White House and into power across the different branches of government. And namely because there was a resounding rejection of the loudest voices predominantly coming from the political left. So I say all that, looking at your top issues, they actually kind of touch on a lot of those 80-20 issues that Scott Jennings, I'm sure, was talking about when you last heard him speak. But it's around making your community safer. It's around how do we help prevent natural disaster impacts on our communities, but also when things do happen, how do we fix that infrastructure? How do we focus on cutting our taxes, specifically property taxes, which I would argue is one of the most regressive taxes. You're taxing me on something I already paid for and own? That's goofball. How do we increase the growth opportunities for jobs in our economies, in our local communities? But then also, and this is the most important part. You mentioned restoring trust in county government, but this is trust across not just branches of government. It's in our government agencies, right? Like there's a distrust there in our health agencies, in right now in our immigration agencies, unfortunately, in our law enforcement agencies, in our FDA, EPAs, and you bring that down to the state levels. There's people who mistrust that due to the COVID pandemic. So. Yeah. There's a lot of mistrust there. So I know I hit on some of those really quickly, but I mean, Marty, give us a quick overview. Yeah.
You hit it perfectly. I mean, here's the problem is that when you have the loudest people in the room that are the vocal minority, just because you're the loudest doesn't make you right. In fact, it makes you the most dangerous because it leaves you little room to then back up, move around, and then actually be effective in getting a plan solved. The one thing that you learn in the fire service and dealing with disasters and emergencies is how do you triage problems and how do you address them? Also, there is somebody in my life, growing up, somebody I looked up to, one of my captains, incredibly intelligent man, very analytical. And he taught me one thing. He said, he would always teach me these things in kind of odd times. And I don't think I fully understood them at the time. And it took me years to, but I finally did. He said, son, sometimes if I tell you to go build a widget, go build the widget. If you come back and you ask me how to build a widget, you better build the widget exactly how I told you to do it. And then he walked away. I said, I'm not sure I understood everything. The point of it, what I learned later on was we all have the capabilities to do the things. And the noise is noise. Mm-hmm. What matters most is how do we affect the people that we're supposed to? And there's a million different ways to probably get to where you need to go. The question is, how are you going to do it?
Yep.
Are you going to always be in a corner? Are you always going to be telling people you're absolutely right always? I can tell you that being and taking on career politicians, the one thing that I tell people is just start telling the truth. Everything doesn't have to be absolute. There's no way you're not God. And unless you're God and you're omnipotent and you're omniscient and you have all of the skills, then you can't tell me that everything is absolute. That is not life. Life means that you work with people to address the challenges, but you're honest about it. And I've seen firsthand what happens in government, because what ends up truly making it out is there's probably 10% truth to, a lot of the things that the conspiracy theory people get into. There really is. There's probably about 10% of it, because I've seen it. I mean, you talk about the COVID, the reporting, and the different things, So what ends up happening is that everybody just gets hypersensitive, hyper political, but everybody forgets about what the mission was. The mission is to provide the services, to lower the taxes, to increase public safety, to get more police officers on the streets, but to be having honest dialogues with the community about what the target areas are and be able to have relationships with everybody in order to get them into a room to solve problems. If it wasn't a problem, we wouldn't be addressing it. So everybody's egos kind of everything's going, it's not going great. The first thing you have to do is look inward and say, what are we missing? What are we not doing? And how do we work towards fixing it? There is never, if anybody tells you there's a silver magic bullet in government and it's involved with, hey, I'm just going to do this, they're lying to you. What it takes is a whole heck of a lot of work, but there is a way. But we have become so hyper politicized, and so many people have different ulterior agendas that you don't know about because they're getting paid by who knows what. At the end of the day, I have learned that the professionals in the areas that need to be addressed are the subject matter experts, are the people that truly believe in the community. And you have to be able to utilize that and to come up with a plan. And then you have to judge and value whether or not that is an effective plan. And guess what? If it doesn't and you need to move it just a little bit, that's how you start to build trust. But there are so many great people, so many great businesses in Harris County that have made Harris County great. And I always tell people, it is the small business owners, it is the economic engine of Texas and the port that truly makes our communities great, thrive, in spite of all of the things that Harris County can't seem to do. If government was run, if private business was run like government, they wouldn't even be in business. I know. I applied a business approach while looking at the city of Houston that has nearly $6-7 billion budget. And I tell people, I said, if I'm in a department or if I'm in a job where one division within my widget company, increased profit or increased dollars by 100%, then I can tell you that's the division that I want to say, hey, what's working well? How do we get this done? How do we do more? And that's not how it works. If you make more, then they take it and go spend it on programs that have nothing to do with the role of city government. And then you don't invest in making sure that planning for disasters, you have the resources, to building up for the infrastructure to handle the amount of people. I mean, these are the things that impact people's daily lives every day, and they see the failures. They're tired of the excuses. It's time to get to work.
Level 365 gives you real US-based support from real people who know the platform, so help is always easy to reach. Whether you need answers, changes, or troubleshooting, you'll talk to someone who can actually help. And as your business evolves, support scales with you. It's all powered by one dependable UC platform. Learn more at level365.com.
So I used to have a sales guy back when I was doing some go-to-market coaching, and we would go through his numbers, and it was always just, oh, well, this guy, he didn't answer the phone, so I couldn't follow up. Oh, this guy, he keeps on ghosting me, and just going through excuse after excuse. And I got to the point, his name was Matt. I said, hey, Matt, listen, I was like, Matt, I love you, buddy. I was like, but I'm going to tell you, I think you need to go to the doctor, because I think you have an allergy, and that allergy is being allergic to accountability. Right. And we had a good laugh about that.
If I steal that line somewhere along the way, I will give you credit for it.
Please do. Yeah, no, I was like, because what happens is if you are always pointing at reasons why things didn't happen, right? Like, you're always going to find an excuse. Yes. And the other part too is, like, whenever I go in, I do a lot of go-to-market consulting for small and medium-sized businesses when they're trying to figure out, hey, how do I redo my sales strategy? Like, what are some new things I can start to look at? And I go back to, let's start with our ICP, the stuff I was talking about earlier. Like, let's identify our ideal customer persona. And I go through and we'll just basically rip everything apart. We'll kind of see the why behind the scenes, and then I'll prescribe, right? I just like a doctor, I want to understand where we got to, where we are today, so I can better understand and prescribe. And what will happen is in almost, I'd say 20% of my interactions, I'm going to get an owner operator who will always kind of just, they'll lean back, cross their elbows, and they'll kind of just like, they'll give me that look. And I'm like, what? They can always they'll find some reason why they can't do it. And then they always revert back to, well, but also just, this is how the way we've done things. Right.
Yes.
And change is scary. Now, I'm saying all this to go to where this is headed. And that is, unfortunately, that person I talked to, Marty, when they lean back and they're like, that person, they're usually a boomer. And I'm going to call it out that when I look at that person, I see that mentality. And then, Marty, I'm just going to say it. When I look into government, I see a lot of those same types of people in positions of government, and they're kind of doing the same thing, right? Well, this is just how we've always done things. So I say all that. You're a dad. You have a young kid. I'm a dad. I have a young kid. So we are obviously invested, not just, for our futures. It's for our kids' futures. And I dare say, hey, sorry, boomers, Marty and I might have a little bit more skin in the game in the immediate here. And yet, why, Marty? Why do we see so many boomers comprise most of, if not a majority of, our elected bodies of office across, not just in Texas? I mean, this is a nationwide issue. Yeah. Is it boomers not letting go? Is it the millennials and Gen Xers just not taking the reins? Like, what's going on here?
Listen, I sometimes tell people it's interesting. Our generation, it is our time and our generation's time in which to leave. Not only lead boldly, but also leave bold, innovative solutions to problems. We have seen here in Houston and Harris County, we've gotten people to the moon. We have the best medical center in the world. People come across. We have so many amazing things that were done 40, 50 years ago. And my question is, what has our generation done? And we can't just sit by anymore. It's going to take bold leaders that come up and say, listen, it's our time to serve, but with thoughtful, collaborative, effective solutions. This can't be done on our own, but resting on the laurels of the people that have come before, or the politicians that run over and over and over and over and over and over again and lose every time, I don't know that that's the solution. And so you have to be able to have the energy, you have to have the expertise, you have to have the leadership and the trust within the people that can help affect change. And the world is run by people who show up. Mm-hmm. So, it's always amazing to me because I've always seen politicians over the years where, they get elected to positions and they don't even show up. I mean, they don't even show up to work. They're getting a paycheck. They don't show up to work. There are so many people out there that want a title and they want to say that they're something, but they don't actually want to do anything. And I tell people the only thing I care about is how the sausage is made. I don't care how it looks, because if it's made with the best quality and it tastes the best, that's what we should do, versus how politics runs sometimes, where they want the shiniest, the prettiest sausage, but it tastes absolutely horrible. So at some point we have to move on, move forward and say, it is our time. We are going to lead from the front. We are going to be the leaders that leave the next generation better than we found it. And we have no more time to make excuses. It's time to get to work in Harris County.
Harris County deserves better. At least that's what it says there on the homepage of Lancton for harriscounty.com. Links will be in the show notes. Lancton, Lancton. Marty, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I know we have a hard stop here, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the last words here for the audience. Of course, folks, if they want to contribute to the campaign, we'll include those links in the show notes. But Marty, what would you like to leave the audience with today?
Listen, leave the audience first. Thanks, Brian, for having me on. But just leave the audience with, get involved. We are going to get this done. We are very excited with the coalition that we have built. Governor Greg Abbott has endorsed our campaign, and not only endorsed, but understands the value in getting out into the community, listening to the voices. We're going to focus on the crime and public safety. We are going to reduce the crime. We're going to increase the amount of resources for public safety. We're going to fix the flooding and the infrastructure issues. You're going to have a county judge that knows how to lead during a natural disaster. And we are going to be focusing on jobs. We're going to be focusing on the infrastructure of Harris County and the people that make it work. I'm Marty Lancton. I'm running for Harris County Judge. And I ask all of your listeners that live here in Harris County, please get out, vote, and I ask for your support.
There you go, folks. Well, if you got some value from today's conversation, or if you live down in Harris County and you want to go ahead and make sure you spread the word, do us a favor. Go ahead, give today's episode a share. When you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, go ahead and tag Marty on all respective platforms. Those links will be in the show notes. And folks, the Brian Nichols Show is both a podcast show as well as a video platform. So head over to your favorite podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, wherever it may be over there, or for your favorite video platforms like YouTube, Rumble, or yes, over on X and Facebook. Just hit subscribe for the Brian Nichols Show, because we are airing one episode every single week on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button. You get that little notification that'll pop up there, letting you know we have a brand new episode going live. And I guarantee each episode will leave you educated, enlightened, and informed. And one last plug, please support the folks who support us, like our amazing sponsors, like Cardio Miracle, especially if you're in the world of politics, because yeah, your heart needs the extra help. Marty, I'll send you over the coupon link in the follow-up email there. But with that being said, Marty, any last thoughts before we say goodbye today?
No, you know what? Thank you for doing what you're doing, and let's get to work.
Let's get to work indeed. With that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Marty Lancton. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.